Howdy, guys. It is Sunday night. Can only be the APAT show, 10 p.m. Welcome. We're back after a week away. And Leigh, we've got a special guest sat above you on the screen.
We do. Friend of the show. Has there's been a little bit going on in the poker world this week. We thought we'd get on someone that might have the odd opinion on what's been happening.
He's the one. He's the one.
A very warm welcome to Dan Williams. How you doing, Dan?
Very well, guys. How are you guys? You okay?
Yeah, we mustn't complain. Mustn't complain.
Now, Dan's following script perfectly, Des. He just bust the main event in 10th before the show started. So we're on the final table of that now, but perfectly. Got a little min cash for your efforts tonight, Dan, didn't you?
More than a min. Boys, we span it from the $3 satellite. We are cheapskates this week.
Oh, lovely. So your $75 cash then is quite nice, actually. Good ROI on that.
Absolutely. Look, somebody's got to support your satellites. Every night I look and they're empty. So I thought, you know what? We're going to get in. We snuck in with I think we started today with 12 big blinds or something ridiculously embarrassing. But, you know, just goes to show even an idiot can cash in this. So good luck to the final table.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, Leigh, I love the thought of PokerNews.com, the giant of poker media, supporting our satellites, because Dan, of course, is fully fledged PokerNews.com sort of employee now. Dan, we spoke only recently. It was only a few short weeks ago, and you were just about to start. How's the first 4 or 5 weeks gone?
Yeah, it's been good, thanks. Busy. Lots of conferences, lots of wining and dining. I mean, APAT haven't rang me to take me out for a nice plush dinner, so that's disappointing. But
we don't have any money. We don't have any money, Dan. No, just no money, right, Leigh? Tell him, Leigh. Tell him there's no money.
There really is at the moment. Very little budget.
Leigh's looking down, counting his wads of money there as he says that. But no, it's been good, thank you. Yeah, it's been busy. Interesting. Went to ICE last week, which was
yes.
Yeah, that's different, isn't it?
I was there. ICE, fantastic. Love ICE. I have to say, it's very cold. It's very cold, Dan.
Wow. I mean, I wouldn't have known there was too much free alcohol flowing, but
I have to say, you and I must have been going to different meetings, because I didn't get any free alcohol at all. Just hours of walking around, shaking some hand and just doing some deals, basically. No alcohol, no food, nothing. Don't be as important as I am, Des, and then you get a nice easy day, right? So the guys in the media, Leigh, they just curry favor all over the place. Well, listen, Dan, we're going to have a long chat with you tonight, because there's a lot of stuff happening in the poker industry that we want to talk about outside of APAT, and we're going to talk about the WCOAP as well, Leigh, right? We're going to get on to that, but we weren't around last week. Do we know? Because I haven't looked, Leigh. I'll be honest, I haven't looked. Did we know who won the leaderboard last week? And can you tell us how it's going this week? I mean, did it even count last week, Leigh?
Yes, if I said to you last week was a very cheap date.
Oh, not Gordon MacArthur.
It was Gordon MacArthur.
Oh, no.
And to be fair, Gordon is currently a very cheap date for us. So to say the least, he's a step one. So Gordon won last week, beat Richard Rudling-Smith into second place, and Eric Eisen from Germany was third. So
nice job.
A few other mentions for our very own Tony G, Matthias Dieters from Germany as well, who's a step fiver. He was in the top 20. Gary Young, who was a step 4, was in the top 20 as well. So very well done to all of those guys that did that last week. That was week 56. This is week 57 of Leaderboard Ladders. I really don't know where the time is going. Already tonight, Deep Stack is concluded with Roop Carey from Finland picking up the win, beating Richard Rudling-Smith into second spot there. Nice. Aaron Swaslin was third in that one. The main event, that's on the final table. We're down to the final 9. We're paying 13. So Dan was one of those that snuck into the 4 cash places already finished, as was Tony Ross, who finished 11th. So we've got 9 left in that. Top prize tonight is $676. It's $436 for second and $300 for third. Chip leader at the moment is one Billy Johnston, very much friend of the show and very long-standing APATer. Mark Bennett second in chips. And when we talk friends of the show, Mr. Duffy, there is only a certain Natalie Bromley on this final table. Was
really?
chip leader earlier on in the event. Is currently 5th of the now 8 players remaining, as Patrick Kusa from the Czech Republic has just bust. So good luck to all of those guys. Gary Young is also on that final table as well. So we'll keep an eye on that. The PLO, that is down to 6. It's on the money bubble at the moment, paying top 5 in that. Brendan Byrne is still there. Dylan Herbert is on that final table, and Sofia Fernandez from Argentina. Sofia regularly cashes this PLO on a Sunday night. She had a win, I think, the week we were up in London, and had a second the week before that, and she's currently 4th of the 6 remaining. Absolutely solid PLO player on a Sunday night playing the APAT game from Argentina. And finally, 9 o'clock, the Sunday Turbo Knockout, $500 guarantee. We've smashed that to $560 tonight, so 56 runners. We're paying top 9, and there are 20 of those remaining, so we'll keep an eye on that. A couple of names I can see in that. Richard Rudling-Smith is 7th in chips in that. Wow. Gary Young, who's on the final table of the No Limit Hold'em, he's 4th in chips as well. So good luck to all of those playing. We'll keep an eye on them. On all of the action as we go through the show.
Fantastic. Thanks for that, Lee. There's a bunch of you guys out there. Do say hello, right? We'll give you a shout out. Tony G, the aforementioned Tony G, has said evening, all evening to you, Tony, as indeed, as you would expect, the aforementioned Tony Ross also says evening. Also, evening to you, Tony, and good evening to everybody else. Lee, I need to know, you mentioned Billy Johnston. Are we allowed to talk about football tonight? Because I know Billy's a staunch Man United supporter, and I feel, I should be taking advantage of opportunities to talk about football at the moment that maybe I haven't had for 20 or 30 years.
I'm pretty sure the football season's over, Des. I mean, I think what's going on now...
Void it!
What's going on now is they're just playing some pre-season stuff ready for. It's ready for August, I think. I'm pretty sure that's what's happening. I mean, that's my understanding from having watched United play the past few weeks. It very much feels like that's what's happening. So, I don't really have a huge amount more to say on.
I'll tell you a funny story that hasn't left this house. When I got my most recent position, they did a very deep dive. They did a very deep dive on me and my social media and all of that stuff. And 3 things came back, 2 of which were completely innocent. There were no issues at all. The third one was where some Man United supporter back in 2019 or 2020, I can't remember, back then sometime when Liverpool were running away with the league and the COVID kicked in, and he came up with void the season, shut it all down, there's no need to finish it. And I responded with, you absolute cowbell. I said, you absolute cowbell, and I left it at that and moved on with my life until it bounced back about 5 or 6 weeks ago. And the HR director, he said to me, this has been highlighted. He said, I don't think there's anything in that really, to be honest, but it's been brought up by the agency. And I said, you absolute cowbell, what did they think was wrong with that? They said, perhaps it's a sexual reference. I said, I don't think so. I don't think so. If you thought of what I might have said.
Yeah, interestingly, a friend of mine used to be the CEO at Southampton Football Club. And when he took that position, it wasn't a case of just going scrolling through social media. They literally just removed the lot before he took the job. Literally, they were not messing about. It pretty much, he just went from social media completely, gone. That was their view on it. Was, what accounts have you got? Look, part of the deal of having the job is we're wiping history. They weren't taking any chances with anything.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Which is, I guess maybe that's the way to go with the world. I mean, Dan, would you ever want to start scrolling through your your posts and online views on things over the last 20 years or whatever?
Well, I mean, as you probably realize, my Facebook account now has about 4 people in it because I deleted Facebook many years ago, and probably for the best. I'm sure there's one too many APATers and others that I've abused during my time on social media. Not that I regret it, but if it stops me getting a job, it's a bit of a pain, isn't it? But no, I've posted some stupid things, I'm sure. But
to be honest, nearly everybody in the Bristol, nearly everybody in the Bristol poker meetup You guys in season 1 or season 2, you went absolutely doolally. All of you, you went doolally. I remember being called a Nazi in the Bristol Poker Meetup group. It was insane what was happening down there at the time. And to be honest, I've never looked quite the same at Bristol since, I have to say. Perfectly nice people going nuts on a Sunday night.
I'm not from Bristol.
I know. It's just that you used to be in the group, a beautiful bunch of guys and gals down there, as I said, perfectly normal off the forum. Now, there are a few other people in there. Brendan Byrne is saying good evening, guys. Evening to you, Brendan. Chris Hibbard's out there. Been a good week in the football. Lol. Chris is a big Liverpool fan. It has indeed. We will be talking about football. Eddie is out there. Evening to you, Eddie. And one Natalie Bromley in all caps. Upper, I might add. Let's talk about the football. Burnley yes. Recovering to move out of the relegation zone.
Aiming
today.
For the great escape. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's
work?
possible.
You sack your manager, who's arguably, I think, a pretty good manager, to be fair, and then you just manage to scrape. Is that the team not playing for the manager anymore?
They've had 2 wins in their last 2 games. That's insane.
To be fair,
I think it's more than Man United.
Yeah, I think their wins games haven't necessarily been, it's not been that much different. I think they've just maybe some things have gone their way a little bit, but also, maybe they've just, decided to up their game a little bit. Maybe just with the way they're motivated. Difficult to know, isn't it? What affects a footballer and makes them decide they want to play or not play. If you'd watched Everton today, it was Everton gave Man United a lesson in how you should have lined up and played against Liverpool at Anfield, which is just make life as bloody difficult as you possibly can for them when you're not as good as them.
I mean, it doesn't help us that one of our best players is going on the pitch for 10 minutes before pretending to be injured.
Yes, exactly.
That doesn't help, does it? If getting paid, 100k a week or whatever stupid money they're on now isn't enough of an incentive to kick a football around,
it makes no sense.
I don't know what is.
It makes no sense.
Exactly.
But United have invested again, right? They've pulled the lever again. Erik ten Hag is going to be coming in from Ajax at the end of the season. To replace Mr. Ranjak, who I guess in some way, shape, or form will continue on. And although United haven't looked any better, if at all, under him, you do suspect that he has something to offer on the recruitment front, if nowhere else. But what a job Erik ten Hag has. How the hell do you start changing Manchester United?
Oh, I think it's a great job. I think it's a brilliant job. Seriously, you couldn't ask for coming in to take on United at a better time than now. You really, really couldn't, because you wouldn't want a half-baked team that you're then having to rip apart, which is actually doing okay. The fact is now, if he wanted to, he could just go in and go, right, I'm shunting out half the first team squad.
Will you have the cash
over this? Well, but you don't need to replace with a mixture of youngsters coming up. The right, because we're not going to go and spend silly money on big players at the moment because they're not going to want to come. So actually, it's the perfect time to do it. And ultimately, he is going to be given some time.
Yeah,
he's not going to get a lot of time, but there's going to be, it's going to take, within 2 years, there's been a cycle of an upward trajectory to where the club's going. The fans are going to be behind it.
3 names for you, right, Lee? I'm going to throw the first one at you. Marcus Rashford, stay or go?
Probably stay, I think.
Right, Rashford stay. What do you think, Dan? Rashford stay, go?
I'm very indifferent. I think they need to bring the whole of Ajax with them to give us half a chance of being any good. But I think we can keep Rashford. I'm a United fan, I think we can keep Rashford. I think
let me throw another one at you. Lee, Ronaldo, stay or go?
Go. 100% go.
Dan?
Absolutely 100%.
Okay. Harry Maguire, Lee, stay or go?
I think purely because of the money that we paid for him, and he's the club captain, I think it's very difficult to say, right, we're just going to flog him somewhere. That doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. So what you're going to end up with, you'll end up with a Phil Jones scenario. So I think ultimately you've got to stick with him, and he's a decent defender. His confidence is just at rock bottom at the moment, and he's been through a hell of a lot of stuff off the field as well.
Yeah.
I think you stick with him and and find someone to work alongside him and get a bit of confidence back.
Who realistically, Dan, is the first good young player that Ten Hag will sign?
I don't think there's any good young players that will come to United right now. I think that's our problem. I think he needs to restructure and reorganize. So for me, one of the big things I've really confused it is why we haven't tried Wan-Bissaka as a third centre back. The guy's tall, he's commanding in the air. We've got wing backs that are much better than him on either side, Tellez, Dalot, etc. And Maguire needs somebody that he can feel confident with. And Maguire needs to play in a 3. So actually, I think they just need to really utilise what they've got and make it work. Because like Van der Beek as well. Why buy Van der Beek and not play the guy?
Yeah.
That doesn't.
Dan, do you know the Wan-Bissaka to right back in a kind of in a Kyle Walker type thing? I think I suggested that on this show about 6 months ago. Des laughed at me at the time. But it's
still,
not.
To be honest, I'm prepared to laugh at either of you on that one.
But the thing is Wan-Bissaka 1-on-1 is one of the best defenders in the league. Positionally, at fullback, he's not great, but you can get him in a 3 and drill it into him. Then
why put him out wide when he can't go forward?
Maybe it's just that I thought with the likes of Varane and Maguire and
but who else? Because look.
You have a ton of centre backs.
Lindelof goes. Lindelof
is useless.
It probably goes. Jones goes. Lingard goes. Pogba goes. Mata goes. Matic goes. These aren't me just throwing out names.
I'm surprised.
These pretty much all out the door.
I'm surprised when I mention recruitment, you want to talk about defenders. Of course, you have to get the defence right, but I expected somebody to say Bellingham or Declan Rice, or I guess the question is,
Bellingham's not coming to us. Declan Rice is not coming to us for not what otherwise it'd be a ridiculous amount of money, and I wouldn't be paying that money for Declan Rice at the moment, because
I tell you,
the fact is Declan Rice in the team is not going to get us winning the league in the next 3 or 4 years. So it's got to be a bigger thing. I mean, you see the papers talk about, Harry Kane coming to United. We shouldn't be spending a penny on Harry Kane coming to United.
Declan Rice is wasted in our squad because there's so many.
Completely.
Fred McTominay will do 80-70% of what he can do, but it's irrelevant because we're so leaky and we're so shit going forward.
You can't get away with 70 or 80% though, Dan. That's the point, right? You can't get away with 70 or 80%.
Wow. I think there's more important things to league. You've got Donny van der Beek. Why is he not being? I mean, I'd play Lingard for the rest of the season personally. I just think the guy's useful. Like, he's more useful than what we've got. Elanga's quality.
What we need, unfortunately, the problem you've got with any of this is they can always compare United to the Liverpool of when Klopp came in. And as to that's the kind of the trigger point of what you need to do. The fact is that Liverpool squad, probably that Klopp inherited, was probably a little bit more together than this United squad. Possibly. And of course, then the key thing that Liverpool were able to do was got a silly amount of money for Coutinho. And it allowed
Coutinho
them to...
came quite sort of late, really. There was a lot of development before that. I mean, they reached a European Cup final before that. And
I'll tell you now, Des, if somebody offered us 120 million for Bruno...
Yeah.
I'd sell him.
That's interesting because Bruno's possibly your best player.
Since when?
I know he hasn't had a good season, but that's circumstance, right? He was excellent in the season prior.
I would sell if somebody offered us 120 for Bruno. I'd sell him.
Yeah. Tell you what he is, though. He's a moody little cowbell, isn't he? Put a big old tackle in on Fabinho or somebody on Tuesday night.
I know you're in your new role, but still, they can listen in to what you say.
I know. Listen, Tony G is out there, and he says, good evening to all the absolute cowbells out there as well. I think he got a kick out of that one. Joe Chilmade's there. Evening, chaps. Evening to you, Joe. Natalie says, Dyke was done. Was time for him to go. Fair enough. Should have gone at Christmas. Can't argue. The Oracle has joined us, Simon Lawler. Lol, Ronaldo won you more games than Rashford. Yeah, it's a fair call. But I suppose if you're looking to bond a team, if you're looking to get them all together, Ronaldo's he's a big sort of name in there.
Don't get me wrong. Ronaldo scored some goals. But I think he's actually done more damage to the side, the team as a whole, coming in, Let's remember, we only signed him really so City wouldn't, because I
It
genuinely
was a crazy last day
believe Ronaldo would have gone to City this season. And crikey, where would they have been if they'd have had? Well, I don't know. Would they have been better? I'm not sure if they'd have been better for Ronaldo, because actually, although he scored a load of goals, he goes missing in games for a ridiculous amount of time. And yet, he scores hat tricks, and the Champions League last minute goals, but we're not winning the Champions League.
Well, certainly if you,
what's he actually doing? And it's not for the longevity of the side. If we keep him for next year, yes, he might stick some goals in, but actually, it's not. It just means we're going to be 12 months further away from actually building the team we want to build, because you're then accommodating him, and he goes moody if you drop him. He gets moody if you substitute him. Even when we win, he sometimes is off down the tunnel straight away, and
smashing cameras. Hey, kid, show me your phone.
It just isn't. It's not a good. It's not a good feel. It's not something where you go, we grew up with Ronaldo when he first was at United, and he's an absolute legend, United legend, always will be for what he did back then, what he went on to do. But he's not that.
He's not winning games, is he? He's winning games that we're already winning, but he's not being the difference in those games. And sadly, they're mid-table games versus your Evertons, your Villas. He's not turning up and winning those games for us.
I'll tell you what, it's hard to argue with what you're saying there, guys. Mr. Hibbard says they should all stay. They are rubbish. That's a Liverpool view. Tony G says, this is a practical question, Lee. Am I pipped at the top of the leaderboard as it stands? So is he still ahead? I don't know if you've got all of the numbers in yet, Lee. Just as you're checking, I will tell you that Mr. Tommy Clark says, evening all, Bellingham would be a great first sign of Ten Hag. I think he would. I tell you what, I was really impressed by that Anthony Gordon for Everton this evening. Played out left, gave Trent a torrid time when he did get the ball forward.
Should have definitely had one penalty, possibly two.
I'd rather say he could have possibly had one. He should definitely not have had two, but he could have possibly had one. From a certain camera angle, it didn't look as straightforward as from others.
No. To answer Tony's question, he's currently still ahead of Richard Rudling-Smith, but Richard is still in the turbo tonight. So as is Tony, but Tony's 13 of 14. Richard is 4 of 14. So
how many points between them, Lee? Are we?
There's only about it's about 6.5 points between them. So
okay, so it's pretty tight there. Simon says you'll be buying players from the continent, which is probably fair enough. Better value to be had on the continent for sure. Brendan says Declan Rice, exactly what is needed, but I guess the challenge is going to be how do you land him? Natalie goes on to say on Declan Rice, outstanding player, needs Champions League though. It's a fair call.
Yeah, this is the problem. Is anybody that's half decent is going to want to try and be playing for a team that's playing in the Champions League. And it's tough.
One Mr. Bruno Abelho is out there from Portugal, and he says Darwin Nunes from Benfica would suit perfectly. 150 million euros. I am super impressed by this guy. He looks to business.
I mean, the media were talking about that he's got some sort of release clause at about 60 million. I'm assuming Bruno's a Benfica fan, maybe, so would quite like 150 million.
He'd quite like the thought of 150 million coming in, I have to say. I'll tell you what, we'll give you 120 and Bruno Fernandes. How about that? Yeah, we'll do that. Simon regrettably is telling us that I don't follow Premier League closely, just think CR7 is worth several points. Yeah, well, I mean, he's certainly worth goals, and goals equals
he's
points.
Worth several points. However, in a team like United's at the moment, several points aren't making a lot of difference. If he was the difference, if he was the difference between us getting in the top four, or he was the difference between us winning a title or winning a cup, you'd go, you'd keep him in the team all day. But at the moment, we're in that sort of area where it doesn't really matter. If he wasn't playing, somebody would have stuck in a bunch of the goals that he scored this season, and it might well have been. Can you
imagine him wanting to play in the Europa Conference League next year?
Exactly.
Yeah, great. The Thursday night, fantastic. Or is that on a Friday night now? I can't recall. It's definitely deep into the weeks. That one. So listen, Simon went on to say, and Simon, of course, a Forest fan, right? So he said it would be interesting to see if the lad we have, Garner, plays.
Really good player.
So he's out on loan, is he, Lee?
Yeah, he is. He's out on loan. James Garner, midfielder, and he's he's had a really cracking season for Nottingham Forest. I watched the Forest game last week. Just looked to be absolutely bossing it middle of the park. Really impressed them, and Forest are having a great season. They're going to pretty much, I think, definitely are going to be playoff contenders, aren't they? So
it'd be nice to see Forest come back.
Love to see Forest back up in the Premier League.
While we talk about football and Forest, can we just give a shout out to Forest Green Rovers, promoted?
Yeah, amazing.
League
Boom.
One.
Yeah,
Boom.
incredible.
Fantastic.
They're just about to build their new stadium up the road from us, which is completely wooden.
Oh shit!
Yes, it's proper all eco-friendly, isn't it, and all that kind of thing. Oh. It's quite amazing how you see teams coming up like that, and then obviously the sad scenes with Oldham. This year, to think that I think now is Oldham that's the first team that were Premier League to be relegated from the Football League. So obviously everyone will remember the Oldham FA Cup semi-final against United, the 3-3 and all that kind of thing. Yeah. Around that sort of. I
do remember the good Oldham games. They had a good team back in 1992, but
but so I think pretty sure they're the first team that have been in the Premier League to now be relegated from the Football League, which is quite mad.
What about Bradford? Did they not get relegated?
Well, I tell you what, they weren't into an eco stadium, that's for sure. That's also what surprised me about your Forest Green Stadium. I mean, when we saw what happened in Bradford, I'm going to say 1985, was it? The fire and stag?
80s, yeah.
I mean, holy Jesus, how can you build a wooden stadium? Surely that can't be a thing.
Yeah, I think the
guy that owns them is the guy behind Ecotricity.
Yeah, Vince.
Dale Vince.
Dale Vince. Yeah.
He's a bit of a character. The players are only allowed to eat vegan food as well. They get in trouble if they get caught eating real stuff. They'll be able to do it.
Well, listen, guys, I have two last points from the chat box for you, and then we're going to move on to something different. So, Bruno, sold. Right, so he's accepting the 130 plus Bruno Fernandes for Mr. Nunes. Yeah. Can't blame him. And one Mr. Triplin, right? Our very good friend of the show, evening from Essex. Not got long enough to discuss United. I think that's fair enough. We only have a few hours. It will be very interesting to see the start of next season. I can see a few from the academy starting under the new manager, similar to the first season of the class of '92.
Yeah, well, I really believe that there is
incredible.
There is some quality in the under 18s, under 23s, definitely. A couple of them are already kind of sort of having to be a little bit of feel in the first team. We've seen a couple of them that have been on the bench in the last couple of weeks. I'd love to see with our 4 remaining games to just play a bunch of those and give them a proper run out and see what they could do. I mean, even against Liverpool during the week, I mean, just Hannibal coming on, and actually I know he got booked and potentially might have even got 2 yellows in the short space.
So it was bloody Hannibal Lecter at one point, Lee. I'll tell you what, I put a mask on him.
But actually, at least there was that's exactly it.
Yeah,
it was I'm not having this. Whereas pretty much the rest of the first team had allowed Liverpool to pass around them with Olays for 80 minutes, which was that's the problem with it. So
I thought that was fine. Honestly, I had no issue with that whatsoever.
I'm sure you thoroughly enjoyed it.
Well, I tell you what, I'm quite pleased. Quite pleased to get through the United and Everton games without injuries. That's all that I will say. Whatever about points.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Let's talk about some poker, because there's been a whole load of poker news going on now. Before we get on to discussion around poker cults, shaman and frog poison.
Frog poison for the win.
Which is obviously the massive topic of the week. The big news of the week was that we confirmed the dates for the World Championship for Amateur Poker earlier on in the week. So that has been confirmed. Wednesday, the 29th of June to Sunday, the 3rd of July at Dusk Till Dawn in Nottingham. There is going to be 12 bracelet events, and it's going to be a cracking 5 days. Now we've got the schedule. That's now been released as well. So let me see if I can bring that up on the screen. It is also on the website as well, so you can see it now. Normally we'd be doing this kind of thing and whistles and bells and and fireworks and all the thing. I think we probably need to talk straight away about the kind of elephant in the room, in that there's no fixed limit games on the schedule for this year. It's a simple case of coming out of COVID and with live coming back live. There we go. That's Des's view on it. There is just a dealer shortage, global dealer shortage at the moment of experienced dealers that can deal a lot of the variants. And we've been back and forth with Dust to Dawn for the last couple of weeks trying to find solutions, see what we can do. And ultimately, the guys at Dust to Dawn have just said they're not confident of being able to have enough dealers to deal those games, and therefore we're not going to have them on the schedule for this year. Hopefully it will just be, it'll be a one-off, and in another year's time, they'll have a lot more of a bigger dealer pool, which will be more experience. The reality is they're trying desperately just to get dealers trained up to deal No Limit Hold'em at the moment, and a little bit of Omaha and Pot Limit. And it takes time. And even the best venues in the UK, it takes time for them to get back to where they were pre-COVID with the dealers. So it is heavily No Limit Hold'em for the year, but it all kicks off on the Wednesday with the International Team Championship. That's a 2-day event. There'll be 16 countries participating.
Is this where we announced that I'm the England captain this year? Is that right?
Unfortunately, you're not. Yeah. So captains have been contacted by Tom, and that's in progress at the moment. The Wednesday night's got a short deck championship. The Thursday we've got a high roller and a round of each No Limit Hold'em and PLO. There are 3 opportunities to play the main event. You can play on the Friday or the Saturday. There's also going to be an online day one as well, if you want to have a shot at the main event before the 5 days at Dusk Till Dawn. Then we've also got in there Bounty Championship, Tag Championship, Mix Max, Shootout Championship, PLO, and a Win the Button Championship. The heads up on the Sunday will be the final 16 will play live on the Sunday. To qualify for that, there will be an online tournament prior to the Sunday. Basically, you're buying online, play on Party Poker, get down to the final 16, and then those 16 will play out live at Dusk Till Dawn on the Sunday for that championship. So 12 bracelet events in total live. There will be an online schedule to follow that'll add a few more variants to the mix as well. But we're really looking forward to it. It is where it is at the moment. It's going to be a cracking 5 days of poker. There's going to be plenty for everyone to play across those 5 days. So hopefully, people will get booked up for Nottingham and come along and enjoy a cracking 5 days of poker.
I think that's the key point that I would follow with Leigh, is that while it clearly doesn't have the range of what I would call mixed events that we would like to have, that we've always provided previously, the reality is that those events, generally speaking, are quite small in terms of the number of players playing them. So I think we're going to underserve those particular players this time around. But, if you're comfortable around your Hold'em style games, your Omaha, and, some of these interesting formats of those types of games, then there's going to be a ton here for you. It's not going to be 10 days, so it's not going to be massively expensive. I think it's great that it's at Dusk Till Dawn. So I think there's a lot to be very positive around. Obviously, we are having to deal with market conditions just indeed as Dusk Till Dawn are. So there's not a lot more we could have done, I think, is probably what I would leave us on the topic with. I mean, what do you think, Dan?
Well, I just want to chip in, and I'm gonna come to Des and Leigh's defense here, which is, it pains me to do, so bear with me. But I just want everybody to appreciate, I can see these side events, a lot of them are 100 plus 20, which is, for APAT typically double, I suppose. We're used to seeing 50, but we have to remember that these card rooms are so inundated with competitions that want to be held there. People want to run things. The fact that APAT are managing to get you guys 5 days of poker, be appreciative of it, because it may mean that we have to pay slightly higher reg fees and have higher buy-ins to, I guess, for Dusk Till Dawn and other card rooms to want to have us there. But, we're getting something and you guys are getting something. And I think that's really important. So I want to preempt all of the angst because I know it comes, but I think you've done a great goal. It's a good schedule. Hopefully I'll be able to pop down for a couple of days, so that'll be cool. But just be grateful we're getting to play some good structures and cheap ones as well, because let's be honest, let's look at these festivals now. Everything's 1Ks and they're filling, right? So to have something and affordable buying is. I think we should be really appreciative. Well done, guys. Well done.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, sir. Let's go to the chat box. Let's see what the people are saying. Triplin says, obviously, I'll get involved. Can't wait, guys. The Oracle says, sigh. Fair enough. And one Mr. Haycock waves multiple England flags because he is at last going to get his chance to captain England after somewhere in the region of 13 years of waiting. So, early thoughts there. I'm sure there'll be more within the group, but I have to say, personally speaking, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think it will be, and it's as I say, from a timing point of view, I think we're kind of on a 3 o'clock start on the Wednesday and the Thursday. I think we then move to a sort of 2 o'clock across the weekend as well. So we're trying to get, as I say, as much poker crammed in as we can into the 5 days, but also being understanding of what the venue needs and their dealer resource and just trying to make it as affordable as we can for everybody to do. So hopefully by bringing it into 5 days, will work for people. And some will do the 5, some might just pop up for the weekend, some might just pop in because they're local and can come in and play one of the evening games, whatever you choose to play. It'd be great to see you. And, you'll get a good atmosphere and good fun, entertaining poker, which is what we're all about, really.
So come on then, Lee, you're going to be my tag championship partner, 5 o'clock on the Saturday.
To be honest, will you play all of it, Dan? Yeah.
What the whole tournament or the whole festival?
The whole tag team, yeah.
I mean,
if you're prepared to do, I'm not sure what the rules are. Whether I need to play a hand, I'll play the first hand, then I'll tag you in. Yeah, we'll do it that way.
I think I'll play until the final table. Then you should take over.
I think you'll find across the week, Lee will be my tag team partner. I think you'll find between us, we'll be doing a lot of tagging, probably a lot of teaming, and not a lot of bagging. I have to say that's the way to go.
But for anyone that's not played a World Championship of Amateur Poker before, I mean, what I would say that the major difference from most of the APAT games we play is just the players coming in from lots of different countries to play it. And obviously you've got the team event, so there's 64 players that will be playing that team event, but then they're normally around for a whole week. So we've got players from France and Germany and Austria and Belgium and the Netherlands and Italy and Portugal, Spain. It's a wide variety of countries that'll be participating in that. So it really creates a great atmosphere.
Yeah, the atmosphere is fantastic.
And it's not just those teams of 4, because more often than not, they come as a group. So they might turn up with, 10, 12, 15 players or whatever that have traveled over to play this event. So it creates a great buzz in the card room for the week. So
it does indeed. Simon, who issued the initial sigh, said, we'll still be contributing to the PLO and low limit hold'em events. Simon, of course, is a mixed game aficionado, so he'll be a little disappointed that some of those are not in the schedule. Triplin said, did I hear you say the online follows, guys? Lee?
No, it's likely to be before
dates will
and it's going to be basically, it's going to be similar to some of the hybrid things that that Party Poker Live are already doing, where basically they're kind of building it into one big hybrid festival, where rather than you have a time off and then the online bit happens separately. So basically there'll be some events in the build up to the live with, and also that'll include satellites and the ability to buy in. I should just say, from a buy-in point of view, you'll have plenty of options on how you can buy in. You'll be able to buy in via Party Poker if you choose to, with obviously potential for some satellites and other bits and pieces. You'll be able to buy in via Lux on Pay. So those of you that set an account up for Lux on Pay earlier on in the year, you'll be able to buy in via that method if you want. When you can also get paid out via that as well. They've upgraded their app, so I mean, there's so many more festivals now that you can use. If you're thinking of going to Malta, Tom's already out in Malta now. This week for next week for the APAT event, you can buy your seat using Lux on Pay for that, using the app if you want, and it's great now. You just go in and find the tournament you want, press the button, and it's done. So it's absolutely a superb way of doing it. And of course, you'll still be able to buy in at the Dusk Till Dawn cash desk as normal. What I would say is all of these events are going to have caps on them. So if there's stuff you really, really want to play, or you're planning on doing, what days you're planning on doing, please just find a way of regging in advance, because then it means you're not having to worry about it on the day. You're just guaranteed your seat.
Absolutely. So Shane Norman is out there. Shane's a member of the Aspers team. Leigh, looks like a great schedule, to be fair. Hopefully I can get the week off from Aspers and head up to Dusk Till Dawn for the festival. That's
fantastic.
What we like to hear. That's what we like to hear. So Leigh, look, WCOAP has a lot of stuff going for it. It doesn't have anything at all frog poison related. What the hell's been going on in the poker industry this week? Maybe Dan is the person to ask this question of.
I'm
yeah. Do you want to?
Heartbroken that nobody told me I could take frog poison and win insubordinate amounts of money. So I'm a little bit heartbroken. So what has been going on? Let's check our wording here. So
yeah, well, we're about to throw in a hell of a lot of allegedlys and
yes.
Yeah, this is others' opinions and this kind of thing in anything that's about to be said, because it's a minefield, isn't it, Dan?
So it has come to light that there is the potential that possibly a very well-known high-stakes pro, aka Bryn Kenny, is.
I thought we agreed on Burger King.
Yeah, Burger King. Some sort of cult-like
burger
ring, I suppose. So for those that don't know, Bryn was back in the day one of the first GG pros. But played multiple sites, right? Played across everywhere online, and there are allegations that from some of his old horses that he would force them to eat vegan food and would ridicule them if they didn't, and would lower their buy-ins. So if somebody turned around and said, "Jim over here is he's had a burrito today with chicken in," Bryn would then say, "You're not playing a 10K today, mate. You're playing a $500 tournament," which, if you're good enough to play a 10K, you're good enough to play a 10K, whether you've eaten chicken or not. I honestly don't know. And this person's also come out and said that he was forced to go and see a shaman in a garage in Vegas and be put through a ritual in which poison from a frog is put into an open wound. Man did not do it. I mean, I watched him on his interview with Doug Polk. Looks like he did it. I'm not going to lie. He was a little bit all over the place. A pro called Martin Zamani, who is he's the younger brother of Ben Zamani, isn't he? The
yes,
who was a poker bracelet winner. And I mean, as this story's unfolded, more and more news has come to light. Of ghosting people. So ghosting, for those that don't know, is when somebody goes really deep in a tournament and somebody better basically watches what they're doing via team viewer or in the same room and basically instructs them on how to play. I mean, and so much more. Who else wants to take over? I feel like I'm waffling here, but there's
no, you're not, because you're summarizing it quite nicely. So all of this kind of broke on Twitter. Basically,
yes.
and then was followed up by quite a lot of content. So Martin went on an hour-long interview with Doug Polk, which I've sat through and watched. It's highly entertaining. If you want to,
it's the guy he keeps referring to. What's his name? He calls. I can't think what
CS. Yeah, he's got a nickname for one of these players, Des, and he doesn't fail to use the nickname every single time.
He's definitely a sock cucker. He is a sock cucker.
Definitely a sock cucker. Yeah,
but that's what he refers to in the whole interview. It's hilarious.
Yeah. I also sat through a Henry Kilbane.
Yes, I did as well.
Vid as well. Now, for those that might know Henry, he does a lot of the co-commentary with James Dempsey on Party Poker live on a lot of those streams, and he's put together a YouTube video. Now Henry actually made a number of allegations against Bryn about a year ago. Interestingly, so it's well worth a watch whatsoever. Now, I did actually steal from Henry's vid a little, because he did a little summary kind of what
the little notes
of what the allegations were. So again, these are all allegations here, so we've got to be very clear that we're not, this is just picking up from Henry's vid. So basically, there's an allegation of bum hunting Lauren Roberts. Now, for those that don't know who Lauren, Lauren's somebody that Bryn befriended and was very supportive of, but in the background was kind of getting her to play more tournaments against his horses and his stables and losing a lot of money. along the way. Not a very nice story at all. If it's all if it's true.
Have you seen that Lauren's come out with some text messages now? So Lauren came out today on Twitter and screenshotted some text messages between her and Bryn, in which the content looks as though Bryn is basically telling Lauren, look, you're not going to get away with this. You're bad. You're trying to make me look bad and you're screwing people over. Sounds, if the allegations of Bryn are to be true, it's very gaslighty, but again, we just don't know. And it is what it is. But yeah, so Lauren's come out and basically showed some evidence that should back it up. However, Bryn has yet to be kind of heard from, really. So, but yeah, it's really sad because she's made her money legitimately, isn't she? She's not a poker player by trade. I think she's in real estate, and she's like 2 million down in these high rollers that he was basically telling her to play, and then getting his horses to play against her, which is just crazy.
Yeah, it's not at all a nice part of this. Well, not much of it's a nice part of this story, but that particularly. So also there was a lot of collusion in satellites, forcing horses to start satellites, and so they don't overlay, as Bryn was closely tied in with GG Poker. Now, for those watching here from the UK, this is all going to sound very familiar to the
don't go there. What are you doing?
To the what came out on 2+2 regarding bankroll supply, and obviously that all kind of got cleared away, put to one side, and was resolved somehow.
If only you had a player from Bankroll Supply on your chat.
Well,
right now.
If only that were the case, Dan. If only that were the case. Yeah.
Moving on quickly. Come on.
Feel free to add in if there's anything you wish to add in there. But it's all sounds very similar, doesn't it? To say the least.
I know of somebody that was removed or was lowered stakes due to not allowing somebody to ghost their final table and for not soft playing in satellites into big events. I don't know who that person is.
No. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
So there was also a lot of multi-accounting on same tables and high buy-in events. So Dan's already mentioned the ghosting of coaches ghosting and using RTA. Do you want to briefly just touch on RTA, Dan, just for those that might be familiar with what it is?
Is real-time assistance. So a lot of you may have heard of these programs like Odin and so on and so forth that give you kind of these trees of how you should deliver your action to be like GTO. We all hear GTO, unless you're Charlie Corral, which, can I just add, how is he not the guy with frog poison? It makes no sense. But so basically to play game theory optimum, so to play in a sort of way that you can't lose money. And what they've been doing is, because the poker softwares and the clients are smart enough to detect software, a bit like Party, and you can't have a HUD, running at the same time, or if you do, it won't display on Party. These RTAs software basically will give you a real-time analysis of the situation, the stacks, and give you the sort of the most profitable or the most unexploitable way to play. And when you're playing in 25k buy-ins and everybody is an elite level, these small little edges and decisions are obviously exponentially worth hundreds of thousands. And it's basically come out that pretty much all of the high rollers have been using them. So thank God I've not been playing 25ks because I might be down a bit.
Wow. I mean, now of course, a lot of this is relating to high rollers, high stakes. And they say more and more has been coming out in the past week, but we shouldn't think that this doesn't have an impact and influence on recreational players, because there's a number of issues here. One, you read all of this stuff and you go, crikey, well, I'm not playing because look at this. This is just as dodgy as it comes. But secondly, these things have been happening on sites that we all play on. So just because they're happening at a high stakes level, that doesn't mean to say, why is the software not picking up on these things and doing them? Because we are trusting the poker software and the poker sites to basically ensure that we're playing in a safe environment.
I think the difficulty with the RTA stuff, they've been running it on separate PCs, so it is physically impossible. My laptop sat here, right? How would you know? So, and this RTA stuff is so sophisticated that they can literally just punch in the hands and the ranges within seconds, and it's calculate. Whereas, this GTO software tends to take sort of 30 seconds to 5 minutes to to go through all the decision trees to spit out the results. These pieces of software that they've got now are so powerful that they can do them in sort of 10, 15 seconds.
Sorry, Dan, I read somewhere that, with regards to this stuff, that, albeit this software might be on some of the sites that, are well known across the world, the reality seems to suggest that at the sort of levels that, a typical APAT player would play at, actually they're almost not exploitable because, the play at that level is so unpredictable. Right, it's hard to optimize against an unpredictable set of variables. So how a player might play out a certain hand at a high level might be completely different to how a recreational player, a keen amateur might play it out at a lower level. So they were sort of saying at 5-10 and above, this sort of stuff, maybe has some value. Obviously, it's got a lot of value when you're talking about buy-ins at very significant 3, 4, 5 figures.
Des, my understanding is that a lot of the high rollers have just been basically selling each other Tony Ross's hand history and using that. That's my understanding of it. They've seen how good he's run in leaderboard ladders over the last year, and pretty much they think that must be the optimal play. In any situation. So that's
I can tell you now, I've played pretty much every APAT game for the last 2 weeks, and I can tell you now, I have no fucking clue what half of them are doing.
Well, listen, Joey Ingram put out a podcast last week, and they were talking about this hot sort of UK player called Cheap Date. Nobody quite knew who he was, other than his play was unbelievable.
Oh dear. So it's been a bit of a mad week, Dan, and I don't quite know where it's all going to end, because, of course, so on the back of all of this, there's been huge calls for a poker blacklist.
Yeah,
yes, is one thing that's been discussed. You may well have seen a number of tweets from Rob Young as well, who'd spoken about 6 months ago about wanting to get a kind of a poker community together to try and kind of self-police a lot of this and get people on board in some way. And he's now kind of starting to push forward with this as well. I mean, do you think the high roller players kind of getting together to try and solve this actually solves anything, Dan, or are we a little bit kind of asking the turkeys to vote for Christmas kind of thing in that kind of scenario?
Yeah, I think like anything, you need the problem's not just at the high level, right? Because actually what happens by having all of this software at this elite level, the level underneath, so you've got some really good players around the world, right, that grind tournaments up to say 500s, and they're never going to be able to surpass up into the next level. And it needs some honest people that love the game, that really just want to kind of see it right. The problem we've got is, who the hell do you trust, right? Because I've heard of names thrown about in these allegations, of which some of them I know and some of them I think are quite respectable, honest people, and they probably are. But if they are not, then that goes against what I think. So it's hard, right? But having someone like Rob that wants to lead the way, and I suppose Rob's very fortunate right now. We all know that has this ability to work with all of the poker sites and all of the poker groups, and that's what he wants to do because he just loves poker, right? So maybe he needs to head it up. But who do you get in? Who do you trust? Des Duffy. Get Des Duffy in. That's the only person I trust.
Amen,
right
brother. Amen.
Get him in.
I just want one of these solvers, right? Because I just need to solve the Monday to Friday, right? If I can solve the Monday to Friday, then I'm happy on the weekend to do a bit of the solving for the rest of the world.
But it's really difficult. I read an article earlier on from your guys, Dan, from Will Schillebeer, and was explaining, what a number of the kind of the accusations and cheating kind of things were, just covering off what collusion was and ghosting and all this kind of thing, and the actual ghosting section, which I mean, ghosting, I suppose to a certain extent also kind of transcends into multi-accounting potentially as well, and all that kind of, and there's a paragraph there where he was reeling off the players that have been accused of this in the past and admitted it.
Yeah.
And are still playing now. And some of the names, and you're just like, wow. So it isn't that, you can go, oh, well, actually 95% the players are squeaky clean and there's not an issue here. Everybody seems to have a past somewhere where they've got caught up in something or not perhaps realized that it was an issue. And until now, where I think since the RTAs have come in, where people have said, well, it's like you're able to solve poker, then that's where it's really become an issue now of, well, actually, this kind of thing can't go on. So we've got to find a solution.
You're completely true. So, like, I think back to the World Series when Dan Cates won his bracelet, right? And he was dressed up as some Japanese fireball character, man. And everybody loved it. Yet he was done, wasn't he, versus Bill Perkins? Wasn't he playing in like a private online game with like Poker Bros or one of these apps?
Yeah.
And he came out and said, yeah, I did, yeah. I took no. He came out and admitted it. I took it.
No. That's one of the ones that Will mentioned. Yeah.
Well, Tom, listen, Tom Clark is out here. He's nailed it. He said so many of the high rollers are complicit. That's why they don't want to blacklist. They're all doing it.
But the problem, I guess, is you've got a situation whereby ultimately the sites are interested in doing kind of what the minimum that they need to do. So they'll comply with whatever regulations they need to comply with. Most of the pro players, whatever they may well say, ultimately they're a professional poker player. So they're interested in their bottom line. They're interested in what they can make. And if they can find an angle to make more money and no one's any the wiser, they're going to go ahead and do it. So you're left with kind of then the recreational players that play because they just enjoy the game and they don't have high expectations from a financial point of view. And if they have a nice win every now and again, great. But if you know that a lot of these satellites are full of these stables with people with horses that are investing and they're firing multiple bullets, as a recreational player, where do you go to? I mean, it could be that you've worked. I mean, you said this week, Dan, you got into tonight's APAT event from $3. Well, you could easily have spun something up to maybe $1,000 satellite for something that you've gone, oh, this is my one shot at it. And if you know that you're sat down there with basically most of the table is full of players from stables that are firing multiple bullets because they're that's how they work from a business model point of view, and we know plenty of them. It's not just the Bryn Kenny one. There's loads in the UK, and there's some that are still going now. It's kind of off-putting. Why would you even want to take that shot? Because it's not a level. I think
there needs to be some clarity, right? So what's being suggested in this stable is that in these different rooms where these satellites were playing, and from what I've read, it's not just one site; it's many sites that, in essence, Bryn was the top of this, like almost like a pyramid scheme.
So it is like a pyramid selling.
He would have players that he stakes, and his staked players would also have players that they stake, and their winnings go up into this, and it would, in essence, a pyramid scheme. And there was rake back based on satellites starting and not overlaying, and so on and so forth. Now, I've been around the staking world for a while. I'm not naive, but I'm pretty confident that not all of these big groups that operate in a similar vein. I'm sure some do. We know of the British one. We mentioned it earlier. And this one obviously does. But, something has to be done with the operators, surely. Because if the operators are willing to give rake back and so on and so forth to these stables to get games running, that's where it needs to be stopped, surely. Like,
I mean, some of the stuff was interesting. In the Martin's interview with Doug Polk, there was one bit which I haven't seen it picked up much anywhere else, but he was talking about he was playing the one of the Caribbean festivals. I think it might have been a party one.
It was,
and he said that all of the guys basically bought in via one person's account into playing the live tournament, and and I was thinking, well, hang on a minute, and he didn't say when it was. So to be fair, it could have been that it was it was a number of years ago, and things have moved on now from a kind of know your customer and what's going on. But I was kind of just thinking, well, how's that been allowed to happen? Where basically one player's effectively just bought all these guys in who've rocked up to play this live festival. If you were a rec player, or it's your one shot, you've won a package or whatever, and you're going to do, crikey, you really are.
I suppose
it's feeding time for the sharks, isn't it? Just completely.
Yeah, but I suppose like the process itself, it's no different than if I stake 10 people to come and play the APAT main event, and I'm not, so don't ask me. But if I was, do I stand at the cash desk and give them all £150, or do I just put my card over the cash desk and they can all register? You know, I suppose that's in
but the difference is, Dan, is that, I mean, his comment was that they bought in via this one player's account, and any winnings they got paid back to that one player's account. Well, that to me feels, that just feels wrong.
That's how a lot of stables work, though. That's how bankroll supply works.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is that feels completely wrong. Is you're not got players that are playing therefore on their own. Yes, people give away percentages, they swap percentages, or they sell percentages. I understand that, but when it's being done on such a mass basis, it just doesn't at all feel good for recreational players wanting to play, that they've got any, then I don't think rec players are naive enough to think that if they're turning and playing a big event, it's a completely level playing field. I get that, but you at least want it to be a situation where you've all bought in and you're playing, and if you're beaten by a better player, then that's fine, and that'll happen vast majority of the time. But it's a really weird one, and I'm sure more will come out as time goes by. I think what got that's the more important side of it. Obviously, the frog poison and the shaman and
that's the best bit.
And everything else is of course it's great headline stories, but actually some of the stuff that came out there about there was suggestions that whilst playing on GG Poker, they were able to see his screen and that kind of thing. That's some scary stuff, because that then takes you on towards the super user stuff that we had with Ultimate Bet and back in the day, and that kind of stuff where there was an issue with effectively the software wasn't robust enough, and it was it was allowing certain individuals to get information that they shouldn't necessarily be able to see, and that kind of suggestion that there's something like that going on at GG isn't great either, is it?
Well, I don't think it was necessarily the poker room itself. There's a picture that Bryn has posted, and it looks, and I don't know because I don't have it, but it looks as though there's a VPN in use and there's TeamViewer. So
okay, which would obviously make it would possibly explain that then.
Explain how it's done. I don't think it's actually that you can access it through the sites. I just think like people are just using things like Skype or TeamViewer.
And this is the problem: is a lot of what's come out this week has been it's quite difficult to piece it all together and go, right, well, what's actually genuine, and then this has been said by here and then repeated there, and and everything else. It's difficult to kind of understand to get down to really what's the actual main crux of this, other than obviously they all want a blacklist.
I think when somebody steps forward and brings it up, but also has to kind of put themselves in the limelight like this Martin has, because he ultimately did all these things or was involved in these things. Sometimes you overexert certain parts and underexert other parts, right? To kind of push more attention away from the wrongdoing you've done.
I was having a passing, no more than a passing discussion with Rob this morning, and he said, This all of this stuff would make a really great episode of The Orbit. So I said, get 3 or 4 of your mates, 3 or 4 of the guys who are talking about this on Twitter at the moment, whoever they may be, and we'll do this next weekend. We'll get it done. I think it could be a really interesting round table to have, 2 or 3, 4 of the people who are, heavily involved in this at high stakes level, in an episode of The Orbit. So we're going to do it.
It was interesting. Rob put out a couple of Twitter polls this week. One's still running now, but he put one out a couple of days ago, which was if there was a poker blacklist of verified cheats, which when he's saying verified, we're talking beyond any doubt. Should it be viewable by everyone or only the sites, tours and venues? And it was 90% of people of over 2,000 people that voted that said everyone. Should be that it should be visible to. And he's got another one running at the moment where he's just asked the question, in your view, is there more cheating in online poker now than there was 5 years ago? His comment on it was saying, obviously I think there is less, or I wouldn't be asking. So I think it's had about 1,400 votes on it so far, and 75% of people say they think there's more now than there was 5 years ago. So which is obviously going heavily against Rob's view. But
I agree with Rob. I think there's less. I think
it's perception though, right? Perception when because what you're hearing about is quite high level. It just gets widely heard, and the perception is that perhaps there's more, right? I mean, I'd probably have voted more just based on perception. The reality probably different.
Well, we're smarter enough to be able to detect it. Look at Mike Postle,
absolutely.
You know, a couple of years ago, look at Ali Izabizovich, whatever his name is, who had a look at Tony Fu's cards, and now they're throwing him under the bus. I just think it's much easier to detect these things now, right? So of course it feels like more.
Bring back Mike Postle. Just having your phone on your knee. That's the sort of tech we need to be dealing with.
Phone on knee and frog poison,
yeah. Oh shit! Right? I've dropped my cheating device on the floor.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
But so I say, always interested to know what you guys at home think about all of this, because it's. I mean, I don't know. Do most people? Do you pay attention to this kind of thing? Is it actually just a case you just kind of read it and it just goes whoosh over your head? I guess maybe you, Dan, particularly because of the position you're in now. This kind of thing, you can't ignore it, do you? You have to kind of get a little bit involved and to find it. I know when I spoke to Des about it, and earlier on today, he was a little bit like, I haven't got a clue. This is actually the first time normally we do the show and we'll just get on and we'll chat about whatever. But I actually spent nearly 2 hours researching this today before I actually came on the show. So I don't think it probably made any difference to what I had to say, but you have to kind of know what's going on, don't you, really?
You got to try. Yeah, I mean, I would have paid attention to it anyway. It's interesting, but I just think, it's hard, isn't it? Who knows what's exactly going on? I'm sure there's some deviance going on somewhere, but to what level? Who knows? And will we ever find out? Probably not. It's like the Mike Postle thing. We can all say we're relatively confident that he was up to no good, but have they proved it beyond any doubt? No.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Will they ever?
It's a good point. Who the hell knows? Simon.
Do you also think, Dan, that there's an element within the poker industry, and Rob alluded to it on replying to somebody's tweet earlier on today, where he said, but the problem is sites don't want to admit anything's going on. So a lot of the time, this stuff just gets resolved in the background and kind of swept under the carpet because they consider it to being dealt with, and that's the end of it. And when the sites like Party, for example, remove all of the hand history access on the premise that it's helping stop you getting data mining of hands or whatever, but you then do lose the ability to be able to check anything yourself. You're then solely reliant on the site doing the right thing by you. That's quite tough.
It is, and I mean that's a weird one. And we go back to recreational players, right? But the biggest thing that helped me learn, I mean, I'm still rubbish, obviously, but the thing that helped me learn sort of through my poker journey was having access to my hand histories and being able to chat to them with other people. Team Gotham, for example, and
Poker Tracker,
else.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and I mean, I still have Poker Tracker. I don't use it while I'm playing, but I have it, and I can dump my hands in from certain sites, and I can go back and study, which is great. But if we take away that ability, well, then how do recreational players ever stop being recreational players? So it's like it's almost like you're segregating the market. If you haven't made it by now, well, just tough tomatoes.
It's a good point.
And if you have, then embellish the secrecy and take advantage. So it's a bit of an odd one, isn't it?
Well, Simon's out there and saying most people who were playing 5 years ago no longer play. And he's probably right in terms of a large percentage. He also thinks that there's less of a chance of RTA in mixed games, but still a chance of collusion with card sharing, etc. Tony G says, as an amateur myself, I don't think it's good at all. I can see that it would put a Rex off playing, as they might assume players are cheating at the lower stakes too. I mean, that's the danger, isn't it? Right? How many potential new players are turned off by just hearing some of this stuff play out.
Yeah, that's the problem. And I think ultimately a lot of the discussion going on in the poker community at the moment is actually, it's quite positive, because it's nobody wants that to be the case. people want new players coming in, because new players is great for everybody, because as Simon suggests, there are people that were playing 5 years ago that aren't playing now. We know, APAT, we're sort of 15 years in now, and we know plenty of players that played the first 2, 3, 4 seasons that we probably haven't seen for 10 years. Des, you can probably reel off a stack of players that we don't see, because people move on and do different things and then come back to it at a later date. But you've got to keep those new players wanting to come in and play the game, because it's a great game to play. It's such a, when in the right environment and in the right sector, it's such a social game to play, and you make friends. And I mean, so many people that I know through APAT that I consider a friend now, that just poker's brought that together. It's got lots of positives about it. It's just you get these bad apples, and as I think it was Sam Grafton said on Twitter today, you're always going to you've got a percentage of bad apples in any industry, in any environment. That's always going to be the case. Actually, it was Dara that mentioned it, thinking about it now, Dara Kearney. That's the case, and I suppose that's true. It's just when it happens in the poker world and it's cheating, which is it's what it then gets blown out of all proportion, and everybody goes pitchfork in arms, and off they go, don't they? Who else can they add to the list? Is it? Well, that's how it feels, Dan. I don't know how you see it from your viewpoint.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a difficult one. I just think we're in a weird industry where it can be whatever stakes you're playing are kind of large amounts of money for you. If you understand what I'm saying. So like, you might be an APAT regular and you're paying £100 tournaments. Well, it's probably quite a fair chunk of money to go and have as a recreational hobby. It's not like going to the pub to play pool for, an hour and buying a pint, and then spending very little money. So you invest a lot of money and a lot of time in these things. So to be in an environment where all you hear is about people cheating, I think Tony hit the nail on the head there. Like, you're going to start to think that maybe that's happening at your level to some degree. And then it just takes it away. So, you cheat on a pool table like Des does all the time, I've heard. But you cheat on a pool table, what if you cost 50p? Somebody cheats in a poker tournament and you're playing £100. It's £100. Like, it's a lot of money. We're not, even as recreationals, we're not playing with small amounts of money a lot of the time. It always means something, I think. So I can see why the pitchforks come flying out and people start getting very aggressive. But then maybe part of it is deflection and defense as well. Who knows?
Well, one of the key selling points to poker has always been, everybody stands a chance. You might not be the best player. You might be far away from being the best player, but on your night, stuff can align and you stand a chance, right? That was always one of the key USPs of poker, in my opinion. And of course, if people actually think there are others sat with you who have an advantage above and beyond their ability, then I think you've got a real issue, because you suddenly lose the USP. But it is what it is. Now, listen, I didn't study a lot of the stuff for tonight like Leigh did, but I did manage to, through poker Twitter, land upon a Poker Bunny podcast, an interview she did with somebody. Have you listened to it? Yeah, so I thought it was an amazing interview. I thought a really, amazing insight into a young woman who has created a lot of waves in poker, over the last year, 18 months, really looked into her backstory and stuff like that. Some of it was, was quite difficult to listen to. But I have to say, I think we could devote an entire show to Poker Bunny. What are you making of her story, Dan?
So I'm only about 20 minutes into that podcast. So I'm behind you, Des, on this one. Unsurprisingly, the young, pretty female has taken your time while me and Leigh have actually researched the real stuff. But it's fine. So I don't know too much of her backstory. Like, I remember seeing her coming up through Twitch and just being very risque and overtly sexual, I guess. Probably the best.
Oh shit! I didn't even know that was a thing. Is that a thing?
Oh yeah,
being overtly sexual? No. Yeah.
Well, wasn't her? Right. She started streaming, I don't know, 18 months when she first got into poker, and I'm pretty sure her screen name was like something 69. Like,
Right.
I give you a 6-9 or something stupid like that. It was very, like, suggestive, and she was wearing.
It sounds sort of what Dan Ouston would have done about eight or 9 years ago.
Cardiff Biker.
As far as screen names go, yeah, I reckon, yeah.
Oh, I've got some bad ones that don't come to light anymore, I promise. But yeah, so I don't know about her background and her history, but it sounds, from what I've seen of her, that I feel quite sorry for her, I think. She definitely, I think people should be, and I think it was it Vanessa Cade that came out and said on Twitter, we're all laughing at her, but really we just need to take the time to support her, or something along those lines, because she's definitely a troubled young lady who is trying to make a career out of something that she seems big. I'm not sure poker's her calling, but
who knows, right? But what caught my attention, and I've seen her on the poker Twitter threads, right? So if you're attached to anyone on poker through Twitter, inevitably they're all talking about and sharing stuff to do with scandals and Poker Bunny and that sort of stuff. So you just come across it, right? Even if you're not connected. And I didn't see any of the risky stuff related to her, but I saw an awful lot of questions around who is this woman? How is she playing at high stakes games? She's not very good. There was a lot of that took my attention. And then it was actually on Friday evening, it was Dara O'Kearney who sort of shared this podcast and, said, this was a really tough listen, but, great interview by the interviewer, worth listening to. So I went and listened to it and found it very, very interesting. I certainly learned an awful lot about Poker Bunny that I hadn't known before. She's got a name. Is it Paulina? Seems to come to mind. I hadn't known that before, but there's a lot to learn about her. She has had a tough life. Of that, there is no doubt. She's only 23. But poker just tends to throw up these colorful characters.
Yeah,
there's lots of them. There's lots of them out there. If you want to find some characters to follow, there are lots of them.
Yeah, I think it also. I mean, that kind of that statement in itself kind of takes us back to the kind of the whole cheating thing and everything. That is the poker community. There is always going to be somebody out there, looking to nip a bit of cash from you or whatever, if you've had a win or a scandal here, there, or whatever. Cracker, you have your own within the kind of more recreational world in the UK. I mean, Blonde Poker's had its fair share of different stories over the years of things that have gone on. Has anybody called the police yet? And that kind of thing. And I guess you're always going to get that in this type of environment where there's it's casinos, and obviously it's a far more reputable environment than it maybe was 50 years ago. That's for sure. But isn't that kind of part of what you want in the game of poker? If it was a case of everybody all turning up being jolly smashing, here we are then, chaps, let's play some cards. It wouldn't be. That isn't what poker's about, is it? Really?
I can tell you now that one of the first live tournaments I went to locally was in Walsall, and I found out over the years that two people that sat on that table, one murdered his wife, and is now in prison, and the other one is got done for child stuff. And I was sat next to these two guys, and that was my first ever poker tournament that was like live, and these guys were sat either side of me at like a GUKPT in Walsall, and I was like, I mean, out of 9 people, probably 10-handed then, because stupid, but still 20. What's that? 20%? That's pretty bad, isn't it?
That's not good. That is not
good. And that's just the first. That's just the first table I sat
Please
at.
Don't be telling those stories to Leigh and I, because frankly, you could demotivate us very, very quickly.
I know, but see now across the whole week. So obviously we've talked about a lot of bad stuff that's come out in the last week. But I'm quite positive about where it's going. I'm super positive about what we've released for the World Champs for this year. We've got we're working hard on another couple of venues for APAT. I'm really interested in what Rob's genuinely looking to do with the what's he calling it? The Global Poker Community, I think is the name. I think
Global Poker Index.
I think you can vote for the logo on Twitter or something like that.
Yeah, Global Poker.
But again, I think it's great. It's because there are people that are are wanting to try and do something. And to try and make things better. And that's, I don't think that can ever be a bad thing if there are people prepared to do that. And this stuff is getting talked about.
I vote we get John Murray on the board.
I agree. Let's do it.
To rep the little guy.
Let's do it. I think we should pay him, right, for outcomes. Based on outcomes, we should pay him.
I'm not paying John Murray.
Pay him in cash in an envelope at the M42 services.
But it does need a voice from lots of levels if it's gonna work. It does need to be something that's independent. It's got to be something that actually can have a little bit of strength behind it and what it needs to achieve. There's no point just packing it.
Send Matt Dale.
Yeah, there's no point in just racking it full of pro players, because that doesn't solve anything at all. So it's got to be done properly. But I have high hopes for it.
I'll tell you what, listen, John Murray is in the chat box, as you'd expect, quietly doing his thing. He's called you out, Dan. He said 3 out of 10 dodgy players on the same table isn't 20%. Detail. Right, we call that detail around here.
I didn't realise John was on the table with me, but it's fine.
Hey.
Listen, Tony says, hit the nail on the head there, Lee. There's always going to be some people trying to cheat in these environments. If live rather than online, you have card marking, stealing chips, soft play. Well, I mean, that's one player's play. You're describing there beautifully. And Tony G also said, in other news, I'm off to Benidorm on a stag do for 4 nights later this week. So we'll not be competing in the later leaderboards next week. Now, I don't know if Tony G has seen this. I don't know if either of you two have seen this, but there was a brilliant video doing the rounds on Twitter.
Was it the 2 women on the bus?
It was the 2 women. They were like a mile out of the airport. They'd landed in Benidorm. They were a mile out of the airport. They were both hammered on drink and some form of drugs, and they started beating each other up. It was absolutely fabulous.
Was it mushrooms?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
I'll take mushrooms now. That was another quote from Martin.
Yeah, I'll take mushrooms now. So these I'm
not doing the frog poison, but if you want me to take mushrooms now live on this podcast,
I've got a bag.
I will do if you want me to.
But no, these 2 women were basically
fantastic.
The one woman turns to her. She says, "It's my holiday too, and I'm the one that's got a fucking job. You haven't got a job." And then the other woman starts punching her in the face, and instead of stopping, she just grabs the vape.
She says,
"I paid for this vape pen."
She says, "Job." She says, "You're lower than a secretary." It was outrageous, and somebody behind them said, "Welcome to Benidorm." It was fantastic, absolutely genius. So have a good time, Tony. Don't forget to bring your trammel. Or whatever the hell it is they were on. What were they on, Dan? They had a cocktail, going on the bus.
Whatever it is, I need some.
So Tony says, yeah, I've seen it. It's my first ever time in Benidorm. I'm sure it's going to be a highly cultural experience. Well, have fun.
Well, Tony has ended the week with a min cash in the Turbo Knockout. Top 9 got paid, and Tony finished 9th. And his arch nemesis for the week, Richard Rudling-Smith, finished 11th. So Richard missed out on any points in that one. So that could mean that Tony has cemented his position at the top. Yeah, but quite possibly. I'm just running the numbers now. Whilst we're still watching this heads up between...
It's an insane heads up, Lee.
Yeah, between Daniel, is it Daniel Corbett, I think, and Viljami Rapinoha.
Good effort, sir. Good effort.
Yeah. So they've pretty much just been going at this now for a good 15-20 minutes. Neither of them, I think, are going to have an impact on the leaderboard ladders for the week. So whilst we're watching this one play out, I can confirm that our very own Tony G is going to end up top of the tree for this week. So he's going to head off on his stag do with what's Tony? Tony's on step 3, so that's $22 tickets. So he's got 3 lots of those, so $66 worth of added value tickets for him. It means Richard Rudling-Smith is unfortunately in second place again, 2 weeks in a row.
Always the bridesmaid.
Gary Young is going to finish third. Aaron Swansland is going to finish in the top 5, so he'll pick up double tickets.
Good run.
Tony Ross is in the top 20, so Tony's back up to step 5 now, Des.
Good job, Tony. Good job.
We've had a few
expensive date, that one.
But as always, Des, other than that, we're looking at step oneers in the top 20. So it's a lot of $5.50 tickets being dished out. But yeah, and Dylan Herbert's had a couple of cashes this week, and he's just going to miss out. Dylan is on the top 20 by about half a point.
Wow.
So he's just going to miss out. But nice to see Dylan back playing. Do you know what? We might chuck Dylan a $5.50 ticket as well, because he's had a couple of cashes this week. So we'll he was very disappointed when we had to cancel the PLO8, I think it was, the other Wednesday. He's always straight in when there's a problem with Party Poker, airing his disappointment.
I want to see a director now. So, get the managing director on here now.
So Dylan, I'll sort you out. I'll sort you out a $5.50 ticket. You were 21st. You were so close. It was. We'll sort you out a ticket for a couple of cashes this week. Nice to see you back playing APAT anyway. And
I think we ought to have a little whip around, Lee. I think we ought to have a whip around. Send him to Benidorm, right, with Tony G, right, the two of them in the back of the bus, right? Do you see where I'm going with this?
On a pedalo, yeah.
Sharing one life jacket.
Nicely, Dylan. And obviously, Dylan's represented Wales on a number of occasions in the World Championships, and obviously Wales certainly will have a team playing at Dust Till Dawn in June. So I know England skipper Paul has been messaging me all week. He had a team picked originally for what was going to be 2 years ago before COVID. So I think he's trying to work out now who's going to be available from that team and whether he needs to fill any spaces or what the situation is. Because we're very aware that obviously we've not run a Worlds in kind of June, July before. So it does clash with, some people doing Vegas trips, as the guys have got this all in. And I think we're going to have win it. I think we are. And Daniel has done the win there. So very well done to him. So obviously we're very aware that it does clash with some people's Vegas trips. So I know the Bromleys are in Vegas when we're doing the Worlds. I think there's one or two that maybe fly back. I think Di Farrell said she flies back the second day or something like that. So hopefully might get to Nottingham for the weekend if she's not completely pokered out from her time in Vegas. So yeah, we're very aware that it's a slightly different situation in the way we're going about things this year. But schedule's up now. Just go to apat.com/WCOAP or follow the links on the homepage. I think Tom's also put it up in the Facebook group as well. So, but the headlines from that was 12 bracelet events, live bracelet events at Dust Till Dawn, 5 days of poker. It's predominantly no limit hold'em this year due to unfortunate lack of experienced dealers at the moment. But we're hoping that will change in the coming years. But for this one, that's what it's going to be. So all the info's out there now, guys.
Fantastic.
So you were going to deal an 8 game for us, yeah?
Oh, if only. We're so gutted about the 8 game. We are so gutted. Don't want to even go there. So much sweat has gone on that schedule. But there we go. So I think, Lee, we're done. Right? Feels like we're done for the evening.
The important thing here, Des, is do you feel you've learned enough about frog poison now? Because we didn't go into it in massive detail about exactly how it's done.
Well, listen, Lee.
But I just want to know that you're comfortable with the situation.
To be honest, I loved the story. I liked the thought of a shaman, somebody who knows everything, telling me what to do. I really like that. I might be willing to pay for a bit of that. The frog poison, I didn't know such a thing existed, but I'm into that. If that's going to help me to, I don't know, lose a bit of weight or whatever, I'm into that. Where I got a bit nervous was apparently you've got to like open up your arm with a big Bowie knife of some sort. Pour the frog poison in and then blister it back up, or so. It lost me there. No.
You pour something on it and blister it first. Then you cut the blister off, which then frees up and then you put the frog poison into it. There, it's quite the interview with graphic. Doug Polk is great because Martin says to Doug, "Well, have you?" Because the shaman, what she says is so this is what we're going to do, and he's like, "Are you for real?" And she's like, "Look, I'm just going to leave you for 5 minutes. Look it up on your phone." So he's in this room at this woman's house in Vegas, looking it up on his phone. And I can't remember the word, Dad. What was the word that he Googled? I can't think what it's called.
Oh, it's called Cambo.
Cambo, or something like that. And so then Martin says to Doug, Did you Google it? And Doug's go, well, no. What do I need to be? Should I be Googling this? Like, well, like, so live on the podcast, he's Googling it. Like, so look at the images, and like, so Doug's going, what? So you did this? And Martin's going, hell no, I didn't do it. Like,
no. I think the best part is the quote where the shaman says, Martin says, the shaman comes up to him and says, "I was a warlord's wife. I'm a killer, I'm a thief, I'm a liar, but I tell you these things straight to your face."
To be honest, that sounded like a song. Are we sure she wasn't quoting from Meatloaf or something there? I have no idea.
Listen. If you didn't know better, you'd say it was Rob Needham's latest poker thriller. You really would. It's that good.
Oh, fantastic. Well, it's been a little unusual tonight, guys, I have to say, but I have enjoyed it thoroughly. Dan, thank you, sir, for sharing your time with us once again.
No, thank you for the invite. I appreciate it.
Yeah, have a great week next week. Everybody out there, thanks for playing. Have a great week next week too. Leigh and I will be back on Sunday night. We'll do it all again. So until then, ciao.